Hey world, it's being able to come back to another video. I want to come back to this video because I wanted to share with you guys, real news, not fake news. And I'm talking real news in reference to this pandemic and how we have, millions of people not working. Another perspective, hundreds of thousands of people going to be evicted from their homes, if not already. And you may be asking yourself, where's our $1,200 stimulus check? Where's the additional unemployment benefits? Because remember, we didn't extend the stay-at-home order. We didn't extend the fact that companies and corporations sent their employees home, okay, and make them work from home. While all the time, saving on operating costs. Imagine the amount of money these corporations have saved from, utilities, parking, having to pay all these contracts for cleaning, gas, all the necessary operating costs that you would have on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, you're not incurring anymore because you have your workers working from home. And then let's say if you're not working and the unemployment benefit is just expired, you may ask yourself, then why didn't they have something in place? Why would they tell us that on July 31st, unemployment benefits will expire and not have a plan? If you got the chance to watch my video a couple of videos ago, I mentioned how they was proposing 70% of your unemployment. Remember, the normal average unemployment is around 60%. So they was proposing to give you 70% of your unemployment from your regular wages, which would have been a pay cut, so to speak, from the $600. But once again, you got to ask yourself the question, why was not anything put in place? Now, this total divide and conquer system has been manufactured and just practiced to a T, to where the quote unquote American people, walking around with their heads cut off because they don't know who to blame. See, and that's why this two-party system is a sham. If you're doing what's best for the American people, and you've been taxed without representation on every level, just use your brains real quick, family. If there are 6 or 5 million people in one city, and every one of them paying property taxes, sales tax, every time they buy something, they pay taxes, every time they get gas, they pay taxes. Taxes on everything, buying a home, cars. Then you have to ask yourself, well, if the state and federal government is collecting all these taxes, where is the money? You did? Even when you have a so-called fail-safe system in the Federal Reserve, because that's what the central bank was supposed to be for. You got the central banks that deal with monetary policy. You have the U.S. Treasury that deal with fiscal policy. And the U.S. Treasury, the guy by the name of Mnuchin, he is over the disbursement of our taxpayers' dollars. Why hasn't someone been protesting and picking in front of his house? You got one person deciding the fate of 300-something million people because it's a two-party system. It's planned that way. If you remember back in 2008, they didn't hesitate to bail out the banks. They didn't hesitate to bail out the automotive industry. They don't hesitate to bail out colleges. They don't hesitate to bail out hospitals. And all of a sudden, the money just appears. But in this particular situation, family, where you have NASA and SpaceX pretend to be going up in space and coming back down and landing in water with no real visual evidence, it's a diversion. Democrats, they want to give the state and local governments $1 trillion out of this package. The Republicans say, no, we don't need to give them $1 trillion because we shouldn't bail out states and local governments. But they bailed out GM, they bailed out Ford, they bailed out Fannie Mae, they bailed out Bank of America, they bailed out all these banks, they bailed out the hospitals. But when it comes to your bailout, why wasn't something set in place? See, that is the question. All of this, the Democrats don't want to agree on a good plan. The Republicans don't want to agree on a good plan. Guys, it's one bird, two wings. And they playing us like pianos. They just told you in this 2019-2020 budget Out of the $1.3 trillion, $740 billion was spent on the military just months before the pandemic. Okay? And so when you watch these cats on the television, you understand it's all lies. How do you wait till July 31st and say, we need to go back to the negotiating table? If you consider yourself a Democrat or Republican, you played. It starts at the grassroots level. It starts at city council. See, that's where things get changed, at city council. School board members. That's where we need to start putting people in place. Because you're waiting on the state, local, and federal government? Are you serious? Right now, your president is saying he doesn't want to bail out the states and local government because they wasted money, and it's mostly Democratic states, which is totally hypocritical when you talk about, or even just bring up the notion that the federal government's deficit is like $22 trillion. So they didn't do a good job of managing money. But you want to penalize the state and local government because they need money? Our money. Okay? Which doesn't exist. And see, if you ever didn't know money didn't exist, this is the perfect time to open up your eyes. Because for them to say we don't have the money to do it when they know that the central banks, which is the Federal Reserve, can just print money at will, they're throwing your face that we're no longer with the WHO, the World Health Organization, so that's an extra $550 million, and back into the United States pockets. Why is there so many homeless people? Why isn't the people being taken care of? See, we have been so cognitively dissonant. Well, we think that them giving us $1,200 or $2,000, ooh, is a good thing. Like, man, thank you. That's your money. And the fact that there's people protesting about defunding the police, are you serious? You defund the police, so they don't police or patrol areas but low-income areas. You think the rich, you think the elite, you think those living in gated communities care about defunding the police? They have their own private security, which is the police. So when you talk about defunding the police, Black Lives Matter, think about who's going to be affected by that. Elderly, Afro-melanated people in these low economic neighborhoods. And that's why I think it's important for us to police ourselves. Don't be a victim. Exercise your Second Amendment rights. Go get your GAT. And in your community, come up with a coalition of those that say, hey, we're going to protect our community. Because one thing we know who the criminals are in your community. And if the police don't want to get them out, then we get them out ourselves. Okay? But this whole notion of dependency on the government is what they want. Because I promise you, if they shutting us down, shutting the schools down, doing all these things right now, it's nothing for them to shut off the electricity or shut down the internet. Why do you think everything is moving toward internet access only? They told us there was a shortage of coins and no one said nothing. How can there be a shortage of coins when the coins go back to the banks, which the banks go back to the Federal Reserve? Are you serious? Back to the Treasury? What do you mean? This is the same thing they did in 1933 when it came to gold. They made everybody turn their gold in. So it's something bigger going to happen, family. Just pay yourself first. Get yourself in a great mental mindset to understand the diversions and what's real and what's not. Because I tell you what's not real. There's no money to accommodate the citizens. That's not real. Because there is money to accommodate the citizens. Because money don't exist. Just print it. But what's real is this divide and conquer, manufactured, psyop to keep us fighting each other. Okay? As long as you identify yourself as Democrat and Republicans, as long as we let these individuals that are congressmen, senators, judges, presidents tell us what to do with our health, with our money, with our livelihood, with our way of life, you don't have any freedoms. You only have privileges. Okay? Family, thank you for subscribing to the channel. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And in the meantime, between time, may the Most High Almighty bring you joy and being with His 5,000.